At this time, you are sitting comfortably and watching this video. But I tell you, the place where you are sitting today, that land was boiling with a temperature of 8,500 degrees, billion of years ago. Or the place where you are sitting, that place was covered with snow for millions of years. Both these things are true. In this 15-minute video, you are going to see the journey of 4.5 billion years of the Earth. The place where our solar system is today, there used to be a cloud of various types of gas and dust. According to scientists, there used to be a star away from the clouds of dust. With time, the energy of that star began to decrease, because of which a huge explosion occurred inside it. Due to the explosion, the dust of space began to compress each other. During this time, the particles of dust present in the clouds had turned into large meteoroid and rocks due to pressure and heat. And as a result of this pressure, the radioactive substances present in these clouds created gravity. Because of this gravity, hydrogen and helium began to gather in the middle. This led to terrible pressure in the core, and there was a huge explosion. As a result of this explosion, our sun was born. Asteroids in space, that is, because of the heavy weight in pure planets, came close to the sun and started orbiting the sun. Slowly, asteroids kept bumping and crashing into each other. Eventually, they became the planets we know today: Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. According to scientists, at that time, the planet called Theia used to orbit the sun between the Earth and Mars. Due to the gravity on the Earth, the asteroids orbiting the sun started orbiting the Earth and gradually fell on the Earth for millions of years. And such an incident was also happening on our neighboring planet Theia, due to which Theia began to come closer to the Earth and came and clashed with the Earth. Due to this terrible collision, parts of the Earth spread into space in the form of particles and began to orbit the Earth like a ring. While orbiting them, the particles began to collide, causing the formation of our moon. At that time, there was only one ocean on the Earth, and that was the lava boiling at a temperature of 1900 degrees Celsius. All those things were boiling, which you know by different names today. With the passage of time, the Earth was slowly cooling down, because of which heavy elements such as metals and radioactive materials gathered in the center of the Earth and light materials came to the surface of the Earth. For millions of years, meteorites rained on the Earth, and these falling meteorites were deposited with salt, minerals, and water. For next millions of years, these meteorites were flooded, and gradually the upper layer of the Earth began to cover with water. According to scientists, this was the time when for the first time, tiny creatures were created from volcanoes that came out of deep water. Thousands of years later, a time came when the entire surface of the Earth was covered with water. The core of our Earth is made up of radioactive materials, so it is hot all the time. But when the surface of the Earth cools down, the heat inside the Earth cannot be released, due to which volcanoes are formed. And something like this happened at that time. In the number of thousands on the Earth covered with water, volcanoes began to erupt. And for the next millions of years, these volcanoes continued to erupt, which was creating land on the water. Even at this time, due to the absence of strong atmosphere on the Earth, the meteorites were raining from space. Approximately 3 billion years ago, there was a time on Earth when the atmosphere of the Earth was almost stable. The volcanoes had slowed down, and the Earth used to be 12 hours a day. Years passed by, and slowly they started to live in groups, and as a result, these micro-beings started growing. Approximately 250 million years ago, for the first time on Earth, such organisms were created that used minerals and sunlight in the water to live and excreted oxygen in the form of waste. By this time, most of the volcanoes had stopped coming out on Earth, and the amount of oxygen in the environment was increasing due to these microbacteria. Due to the increase in oxygen in the environment, the Earth's atmosphere began to form, and for the next thousands of years, the amount of oxygen in the environment continued to increase, due to which these tiny creatures spread in most parts of the Earth. After thousands of years, a time came when these tiny creatures started dying due to increased oxygen in the Earth. By that time, the Earth's atmosphere had cooled down and was also filled with oxygen, due to which the minerals of iron present on the land and in the water began to react with the oxygen present in the water. And a time came when the Earth's soil had turned red like today's Mars. As time passed, cracks began to appear in the tectonic plates of the Earth, due to which the lava inside the Earth kept boiling open for millions of years like the Earth. And this was the reason why the amount of carbon dioxide increased a lot in the environment of the Earth and acid began to rain on the Earth. Because of the acid rain, the temperature of the Earth began to decrease, and the temperature decreased so much that the water on the Earth began to turn into ice. For the first time, there was a terrible ice age on the Earth. At this time, the entire Earth was covered with white ice. Usually, when the sun's rays fall on the Earth absorbs those rays. But because the whole Earth was covered with snow, and since snow is white and shiny, as a result of which the sun's rays used to go back after falling on the Earth. For this reason, the Earth was covered with snow for millions of years. But again, the heat inside the Earth began to come out in the form of volcanoes. And the heat coming out of these volcanoes started melting the ice. Meanwhile, some small creatures remaining in the depths of the Earth were slowly changing, and now they were using oxygen to make their bodies bigger and more complex. In the meantime, even smaller marine plants had begun to emerge in the water. As the volcano was erupting, the environment was getting hot due to carbon dioxide. With time, the snow began to melt, but the rain of acid began again on the Earth. As a result of which, the Earth began to cool down, and then most of the surface of the Earth was covered with snow. This has been going on for thousands of years, and that is why marine life was slowly evolving according to the environment. In the meantime, many animals and marine jungles also disappeared, but those who survived gradually adopted according to the changing temperature of the Earth. And now, after thousands of years, the marine trees did not die or dry completely due to the snow. Now the subtleties had become marine creatures. When the volcanoes began to melt the ice of the Earth again, then these sea trees quickly developed and spread. Gradually, the amount of oxygen in the environment began to increase, and the rain of acid on the Earth began to decrease. Due to the oxygen in the environment, the ozone layers of the Earth began to thicken. And about 470 million years ago, for the first time on the surface of the Earth, a plant called mossos began to grow. As time passed, different types of plants and trees began to grow on the ground. There was a time when the trees on the ground grew to a height of about 80 to 100 feet, or like 5 to 6 floor tall building today. This was the time when marine animals were coming out of the sea. And it is being transformed into terrestrial animals. Most of the Earth's land had gathered in one place, which we know today as Pangaea supercontinent. The atmosphere and temperature of the Earth was almost stable, and now it used to be around 21 to 23 hours long day. Now the sea creatures were out of the water, and the color of their body was changing according to the environment. Gradually, these land animals turned into dinosaurs. The dinosaurs that started eating trees and plants, their bodies began to grow in length and size. Some dinosaurs used to hunt, because of which they became small and fast. Most of the land had become desert and barren due to the accumulation of land on Earth in one place. Most of the jungles were close to the sea in which dinosaurs lived. Approximately 200 million years ago, the Pangaea supercontinent began to break. Due to the division of the Pangaea, most of the Earth's upper soil began to come in contact with water, as a result of which greenery on the Earth increased, because to which the dinosaurs became more diverse and vast. Dinosaurs inhabited the Earth for the next 200 to 300 million years. At that time, dinosaurs ruled the earth from the sea to the ground and sky. Meanwhile, Indian subcontinent, which broke away from Africa, came straight and collided with today's Tibet. And due to this collision, the Himalayas were formed. About 65 million years ago, a meteorite even bigger than today's Mount Everest, which is about 450,000 kilograms. Approximately at a speed of 80,000 kilometers per hour, was coming towards the Earth. As soon as it touched the surface of the Earth, there was a terrible fire, and while burning, it collided to the Earth. The energy released from this collision was equal to the explosion of today's 100 million atomic bombs at the same time. Where this meteorite struck, countless animals and plants perished, turning into steam and ash. As soon as it fell, dust spread all over the Earth. A terrible storm began in the ocean, and earthquakes and fire started to burn the Earth. In just a few hours, the Earth had become hell due to the harmful gas and dust in the entire Earth's environment. Dinosaurs completely vanished because of choking, fire, and hunger. At this time, our ancestors used to live inside the land, because of which they were saved from this great disaster. The Earth's atmosphere was completely black and dark, so that the sun was not able to reach the ground. Trees and most of the animals went extinct. Due to dust and harmful gases in the environment, the rain of acid began on the Earth again, and then the Earth cooled and covered with snow. But this time, the snow of the Earth did not freeze for millions of years, and after 80 to 90,000 years, this snow began to melt. As soon as the environment began to return to normal on the Earth, these small creatures began to come out of the ground. At that time, the snow of the Earth had begun to melt, due to which there used to be dense cold forests in Africa. And in the meantime, these land animals turned into apes. But as the Earth began to get hot, the jungles of Africa began to dry up. The apes who ate the things of the jungle began to lack food. In search of food, these apes began to walk on their feet, which helped them to hunt other animals. Gradually, apes turned into Homo sapiens. In search of food, Homo sapiens began to spread to other parts of the Earth, and gradually their body color changed according to the weather there. With time, we became tribal. We invented fire and weapons. We slowly developed as human beings. We built a family, language, culture, and religion. At the time, we have continued to make developments, and today we have become the most developed species on this Earth. It took the Earth about 4.5 billion years to become what it is today. And it took us millions of years to become human from an animal living in a small land. But in these 100 years, the amount of destruction we have done, no one has done before. We are heating the Earth again and increasing the amount of carbon dioxide. Scientists believe that there is going to be a major change on Earth again. How our Earth will be in the future, we will see in the next video.